Hey there, I'm Sophia. Welcome to the Nightly from Hatch, a slumber party for pop culture lovers. And it's just me hosting tonight, but I am joined by Ben Mandelker and Ronnie Karam, the hilarious hosts of Watch What Crappens. They are Bravo aficionados, and I'm so excited to have them here. Welcome, Ben and Ronnie.
Thanks for having us.
I have to admit, I have a cousin who is like completely obsessed with you guys. And before this record, I was like, you will not believe what I'm doing. And she was very, very jealous.
Oh, I love that. How cool.
I literally shout out to Corey. She's gone to all of your guys' shows in DC. She loves it.
Hey, Corey.
Hey, Corey.
What's up, Corey?
She was like, you have to get them to say my name. But basically, before we get into any of the Bravo stuff, we always like to ask our guests like what your bedtime routine looks like. If you guys have any specific things you do, anything you want to share with the audience, we like to get a vibe from you.
Well, I'm pretty simple. I just do the face, teeth, and then I go to bed and read my Kindle. And I have 2 Kindle pillows. You know, they're like stands for your pillow for your bed.
Wait, I need a Kindle pillow.
Yes.
Oh my God.
They're so great. Okay. And so I have one of those on either side of my head because I'm a side sleeper.
Okay.
And I have a little Kindle remote control thing that turns the pages, so I can just hold it under the covers.
Oh my God, that was the sweetest setup in the world. I like to read my Kindle in bed, but I'm now learning that I'm not operating at like nearly a high enough level as I should be.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. I just started the whole clicker and pillows recently because as someone was like, what do you mean you rest your Kindle? I mean, I had all these pillows set up in my bed, like real pillows.
Right.
And I was like trying to angle them in the right way. And someone was like, get a Kindle pillow, babe. So I got a Kindle pillow. Then I got another one for the other side.
Of course.
And then I heard about the clicker because I talked about the pillow. I mean,
yes,
it's everywhere. And now I want to get one that comes over my head and
of course,
like a mic stand kind of thing that comes over my head and holds the Kindle center. So, you know, I'm on my sides too much.
Ben, what about you? What does nighttime look like for you?
Basically, so a lot of times, so my partner, Dominique, he usually goes to sleep a little bit before me. And by a little bit, like he's usually out by like 11:30. And I usually just, I'm like in bed next to him. And that's usually the time where there's like no distractions and there's nothing. It's just like me and it's just like pure me time.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because Ronnie and I just had a very long discussion yesterday before we recorded about like nighttime rituals and how I want to read more and doom scroll less because I'm doing a little bit too much of the latter. But I like to take, I usually go to sleep at like 1:30 in the morning. And I usually like to take those like hour and a half to 2 hours to just, maybe I'll work on some of my writing. Maybe I'm just like clicking around and reading about board games, which is one of my hobbies.
Oh my God.
So it's kind of like the time where I really kind of lean into, I don't know, whatever is interesting to me. And it's like not related to work. It's not related to Bravo. It's just related to hobby stuff. Last night, I actually spent like 45 minutes watching some guy play through a video game that I loved as a child. And so that did not feel as productive, but it was like very fulfilling for me.
It's you time.
Yeah.
And you can follow your passion.
Exactly. So I try to have like a mix of doing those indulgent things, but also like doing stuff that would be, I feel like, enriching to myself. And so I'm hoping Ronnie's going to give me one of his Kindles.
I was going to say.
And I'm going to join the Kindle revolution.
Ronnie can give you one of his 10 Kindles and you can get started.
I literally have 4.
Okay, so before we get started, I'm curious, like, how long have you guys been doing Watch What Crappens, and what made you guys say that you need to make a podcast about talking about these shows? And you guys just talk about all of Bravo, correct?
Yeah, all of it. We've been doing it about 14 years. And we started as TV bloggers, and we would write these really long comedic recaps about the shows. And we started doing the podcast because Ben got a gig doing video work. You know, it was kind of when they started putting a lot of money into video content back in the day. And it was a Housewives show, and that ended up going under, but we turned it into a podcast just for fun. And there weren't very many podcasts back then, but we thought, wow, this could like really publicize our blog.
Yes.
And so
and It probably did, but it went even further.
You know, it was just a weird time for it, and it was just something new and fun.
Yeah.
You know, I always really loved talk radio, and so I never had the dream to do it, but being able to do it in some kind of way was really cool for me. I thought it was so fun.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What's actually so funny, if you really want to like drill down into it, was Ronnie was saying how we were bloggers in the 2000s, and I used to blog a lot about The Hills and Big Brother and Survivor, all these like very big reality shows at the time. And Ronnie and I were working at the same site, and I left the site, and I had a big following for The Hills. Every time I like wrote a recap about The Hills, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And when I started up a new blog, and I was like, okay, I'm going to write about The Hills. And I found that when I wrote about The Hills on my new blog, people did not care.
Wow.
It's like, you know, people are very invested in their habits.
Yeah.
So if they went to the old site to read about The Hills, that's just where they would go.
Yeah.
They weren't like, they didn't really follow me that much. And so I just was throwing a lot of stuff at the wall. And I found that writing about the Real Housewives was actually the thing that stuck, because I started to dabble in the Real Housewives. I was like, oh, this is where I'm getting my clicks from on the blog. So when I got hired to do this web show, they were like, do you want to do a Real Housewives show? I was like, sure. So really it stemmed from pure old, you know, what's getting me clicks on the blog.
That's actually how it was for me too, because in writing all these recaps, I was covering all these different shows, but I saw the Housewives taking off. And that was when it had first come out, you know. I mean, it was a long time ago. Oh my God. But
20 years.
Yeah, I remember when that first started getting recapped, and I thought, who is watching this? This is so stupid. I tried to watch one episode and nothing happened.
I know.
I mean, it was like a lady went to a car wash, and another lady, I mean, I don't know, went to work.
Yeah.
You know, you just saw her working at her insurance company.
Yes.
And I thought, who watches this? But I started covering, I think, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills right when it started, just because it was so popular. And I was like, well, I guess I'll cover this. And I would get addicted to the comment section of people fighting, because there were hundreds and hundreds of comments from people fighting each other to the death. And it was like, well, she didn't invite that lady to her, you know, Tupperware party. And I thought that was rude. And it was just these crazy, like nonsensical, like very low stakes fights, but they would go to the death. And I was like, this is something new. You know, what is this?
It really is. Yeah. And to your point, I feel like also at the very start of the Housewives, like they were still figuring out what it was. And it is even a bit more almost like docu-series of like, these are just these women's lives. But I do feel like Beverly Hills, which I haven't watched all of, but I've seen the first 2 or 3 seasons. That one from the jump is pretty like crazy. So it makes sense that would hook you.
Yeah. Those were like the glory days of Beverly Hills for sure.
And that was the first one with the crazy plastic surgery too.
Yes.
Like I remember when that one came out, they all did an interview on a morning show or something. And there were a couple of them, like Taylor Armstrong particularly. I don't think people had seen plastic surgery like that before.
Well, she has that
and
like good old-fashioned lip implant. Do you know what I mean? Some of them have that instead of the filler.
The big lips and just the crazy face. And she, you know, she was laughing about it on this morning show and saying, you know, you're going to get different stuff in our city. I mean, just look at my face. Like this is glamour where we live, you know, and kind of laughing at herself. And I thought that was so funny. And now kind of everybody looks like that.
Yes,
you know,
100%, 100%. Okay, well, speaking of Housewives and this kind of like transition that we've seen over time, I'm assuming you've seen the premiere of Rhode Island, and if you have any thoughts or feelings. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm excited to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I think it's a very solid new show. I think really what's fun about it is all the accents. I kind of think everyone's really in it for the accents at the moment. And there are some like very funny asides, like in the latest episode 2, one of the women is like, I hate driving on the highway. You know, one time I got into a car accident. One time I ran over a woman. One time I nearly fell off the bridge. And the producer's like, did you say you just ran over a woman? She's like, yeah, I ran over a woman. Anyway, did I tell you I love crackers?
Did you see the follow-up to
okay.
that? She was, someone asked her about that in some interview, and she's like, yeah, I was driving. And, you know, I was going like 50 miles an hour or something. And this woman, she just dives out in front of my car. Like, I don't know what she was trying to do, but she was crazy. And, you know, I learned a lesson that day.
Yeah.
She doesn't say what the lesson
I think a lot of people learned a lesson that day.
Yeah. The DMV learned a lesson about who they give the license to.
Oh my God.
So I think that so far it seems like the building blocks are there. Whenever there's a new franchise, it sort of takes, I think, a few moments to sort of like get us like truly invested in the characters. But I think so far so good.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
My problem with Housewives is that it's a lot for me to get into because it's so much. So I'm like locked into Salt Lake because I started watching that when it first aired. So I'm hoping to have a similar relationship to Rhode Island.
You're right. Like if you miss any of the history, then you don't even understand what the fights are about because they're never about what they are currently. They're always about something that happened 5 years ago, and it's always something stupid, like somebody was late to something, and they're still bitter about it all these years later.
It's never really about the pasta, as they say.
Exactly. Precisely.
Exactly.
Do you guys have any favorites? Any people that you're like, I feel like she's gonna be a star, or maybe it's too early to say?
There's one of them right now who's cracking me out because she's just ready to fight at all times. She's like, I'm Joellen and I'm gonna fight, and it's kind of funny because it's like, calm down, it's episode 2. And so there's a little bit of that. I think it's going to take them a bit to kind of get comfortable in it and forget the cameras are there and forget that they're pretending, because eventually the cameras, everyone's so aware of the cameras, but eventually you do kind of forget or you let your tongue slip or you get caught being yourself.
Well, exactly.
And so I think I'm just waiting for them to get caught being themselves.
Yes.
I think Liz she's probably going to be the biggest breakout. She seems to be a little bit more of the voice of reason, which is crazy because you would never think that she would be.
Mm-hmm.
But Liz is she's sort of connected to everyone, and she has this really raspy voice. She talks like this, and she literally went to the same plastic surgeon as Dolores Catania and got Dolores's face.
Amazing.
And she says so on the show, and so they look identical. And then Dolores comes on the show. And they sit down together and get a caricature of themselves done. And the caricature artist is like, "Are you guys sisters?" Like, "Nah, do we look alike?" So I think Liz is also funny. So I think she could be our first breakout star.
Okay.
And also Alicia, the girl who ran over someone on the street.
Of course, that's
people. She may be a breakout star too because she says ridiculous things.
okay. Amazing.
And she's probably the most Rhode Island as far as voices and accents and stuff.
Well, I can't wait. I really can't wait to get into it. One of the other things we wanted to do a little like temperature check on, get your guys' read, of course, is the Summer House drama. But for the uninitiated, I guess there's been a big betrayal where basically someone's Sierra's ex and best friend are now dating. And yeah, I guess that's what I'll say. But how are you guys feeling about it?
I'm very invested. I think it's really fun to track this. And also, like, there's nothing really is happening lately, but people are trying to find stuff. Like Wes was seen at the national championship game last night for the NCAAs.
Yes, my friend was on the flight behind him to Phoenix.
Whoa, that's a hot seat to be right behind him.
Yes.
So there are photos of him, and he's looking very like sad and mopey.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And it's like,
which
come
I'm
on.
Like, why are you here then? Like,
to get pictures of himself looking sad and mopey so he can be a big victim.
Of course.
Because that's how the guys on Bravo are. The guys on Bravo are a template. They play on this charm, and every season they come back and they're like, this is a different version of me. I've gone to therapy, because they get, they get so hounded by the social, I don't even want to say the press, like social media. And so they come back like, this is the new version of me. And they're all so, practiced. And it's like they all get together and tell each other the tricks. And so he's playing all of them. He's coming around with his victim face.
And he really is like, he kind of is like the most evolved version of what you're describing too, I feel like, because I just watched the last episode of Summer House, like the one that's airing, and it's obviously crazy to watch it through the lens of knowing that him and Amanda are now together or whatever. But the way he's like very interested in playing the good guy and going up to Kyle and being like, you need to apologize for da 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 da, and it's like, you're just as bad as him.
Yep.
Maybe even a little bit worse because you're hiding the evil behind your mask, but it's crazy.
Yes. Yeah. I was thinking about it because I saw these photos of him at the game, and I was like, ugh, of course he's going to be like, go to a big public space and then look sad. But then I was thinking, how would I actually want him to look? Because if he looks
I know.
happy, it'd be like, oh, like, what the hell, man? And then if he looks sad, I'm like, that's so fake. I think that, like, what's interesting about this scandal as opposed to Scandival is that with Scandival, you know, there was an affair that was exposed, but once it was exposed, it was like, you know, they sort of were together, sort of not.
Yeah.
Raquel left him and whatever. But in this case, they're saying they're really in a relationship. And I kind of feel like if you're going to come out in this relationship,
Do it.
like, you might as well stand in it.
I know.
Right? And say, hey, yeah, we feel really bad that we've hurt other people, but we really, really like each other. And we felt like we had to follow this. It was more important for us and whatever you're going to say, and stand in it.
They kind of had that joint statement.
Yeah, but like his body language is not. Like his body language is, don't be mad at me. It's just, he should be like, you know what? This is my girlfriend now.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
she won't be for
don't know how
long
to
is
do
the
it.
problem. It's like he's like pathological or something. So it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the biggest betrayal was to it was to her girlfriend.
Of course.
I think that's why people are so, because Sierra is like so good and pure.
I know.
You know, like everybody loves her.
I know.
And it's so rare that someone like that is on reality TV.
I know.
Where it's just like, I like her. You know, you've got the perfect victim there in a way that is people are going to be on her side, as they should be.
yeah. Thematically, I find that Summer House is much more about the female friendships than, like, for example, VPR or whatever, which I think also has to do with it. But okay, I'm like, I could talk about this forever, so I'm sad, but we have some games we're gonna play if you guys are in the mood for that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we sometimes play this game called the guest list, which is basically like, if you could invite 3 people to our slumber party, who would they be? And I think what would be amazing is if we all chose one person from the Bravo universe. So do you guys have any answers? Anyone that's coming to mind that you would want at the slumber party with us?
I mean, my old standby is Lisa Vanderpump. I just think
my
she's so
God.
funny.
Yes.
I know she would go to bed early,
Yes.
which I love. You know, I don't want a slumber party going
No.
till 4 in. She'd make sure we were all fed with really good food.
Yes.
She'd make fun of everybody there and then make me laugh and go to bed.
Yes.
That's like my favorite kind of guest.
I think that's an amazing answer. I mean, I have so much love for Lisa Vanderpump. She's like,
Oh, you do?
I have a lot of problems with her as well, because ultimately due to her like being a crazy misogynist, but just
Darling,
Just
it's
that.
just British humor.
exactly. But I just can't help it. Like when I see her, I'm like, I love her. That's mother.
She's S tier, but I miss like the more glamorous
Yeah.
Lisa Vanderpump, who would wear sort of like long silky things with like fun fringe or whatever.
Yes.
But for me, my invitation goes out to another Brit, or actually a fake Brit, which would be Kimmy from Ladies of London.
Okay.
I don't know if you've watched the reboot of Ladies of London, but it is actually tremendous. I think it's the best thing on Bravo. I actually have a hard time imagining there'll be anything better than Ladies of London
God,
this year
okay.
on Bravo.
Okay.
And I'm saying that with like full gravitas. It is
No, that's
so
serious.
good in a way that's different from the Housewives. Because the show follows 6 or 7 socialites. It's not really about the family life. It's really about them getting together and hanging out and getting drunk. And they're very cutting towards each other. And it's very funny. And it's an ensemble show, but it's interesting how it actually feels different than a Real Housewives show. And it's so funny. So Kimmy Murdoch
Okay.
is she's an American who's been living in London for about 25 years. So she's sort of taken on this quasi-British accent.
Amazing.
And she's just fabulous. And I think that her and Lisa Vanderpump would be spectacular together.
Okay, I mean, mine is kind of the wild card, but it's like, it's just who it is, and it's always going to be her. It's going to be Mary Cosby, of course.
Oh, she'd be great.
I'm just completely fascinated
Yeah.
with her. I love her so much.
That's a great choice.
I would be interested to see the 3 of these beautiful women interact and see how they bounce off one another.
They would either get along especially well, or it would be a strange like oil and
Yeah.
water situation. But it'd be great for us no matter what.
Yeah, I really am trying to picture Lisa and Mary having a conversation, and I'm struggling to do it.
Well, I think Lisa Vanderpump would be one of the only people to actually question Mary. Like, what? You have a church?
I know.
Like, what is that?
I know.
What do you mean they think you're God? What?
Okay, well, this has been completely amazing. As I said, I'm like, I wish we could talk for 3 more hours, but thank you guys so much for joining us. And before we wrap, Ben and Ronnie, is there anything our listeners should be checking out that you guys have been working on?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, come to our podcast. Yeah,
Yes.
we're Watch What Crappens on all the platforms. And we're talking about these Bravo shows and many more. And you can follow us also at Watch What Crappens. And we have a Patreon where Ronnie has been writing a tremendous newsletter that we put out every week. So that talks about Bravo and things going on in our lives. So come check that out.
Okay. Before we wrap, we also always ask our guests, do you guys have a good night that you would like to give before we head out?
I'll say good night, Kyle Richards. I hope that you have the best sleep and you wake up ready to be more honest with the world tomorrow and live your authentic self, your authentic life. God bless you.
I'm going to say good night, Larsa Pippen. Whatever it was that happened today, you were right in that situation and people don't understand you. And I support whatever it is that you've decided you're going to do, even though no one else probably does. So good for you, Larsa.
Oh, perfect.
Sleep well.
Sleep well, Larsa.
Have dreams of basketball.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for that. This was lovely, perfect. I had such a good time. So I'll talk to the listeners next time. And good night, Ben, and good night, Ronnie.
Good night.
Night.